All right, finally back together again. So we've done a little review of the last four seasons and put a pin in what the season boiled down to, the lesson that was given in each season, and that's going to happen here too. There's a big giant swaths in the fifth season. Although and I have not watched it. I've watched little parts of it. Uh, but some of these big pieces don't seem to fit together, even though it's right out of the scripture. Most of tonight's is out of John's gospel. So you all know the stories, you'll recognize the stories, and you say, "Oh, we know that." But there are some places where we'll have to talk about it because the pieces, though we know them, all point to another big thing that we may not know or we're just not aware of. We think it's an undercurrent story or undercurrent part of we know, and it's not. It's actually pretty vital. So if you're joining us and you're not with us tonight, the way we do this is I'm gonna pause the video and you get to go watch the video and then come back and unpause us. The reason why we do that is because we were originally putting the video on YouTube uh, with us so we could watch it, and we got a cease and desist from YouTube that said we're a copyright infringement, so we couldn't do that. So I'm going to pause this right now. We're in season 5, episode 1, and we're going to watch the whole thing. So go ahead and give us a pause and go watch the whole thing, and then unpause us when you get back. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. All right, well, we were back after finished up the first episode. I've got my little 2 pages of notes here. So where do you want to start? What do you think? What was important? What stood out?
What was he doing at the end is the question.
I second that question.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember way back in the first episode that they had an heirloom donkey bridle,
Yeah.
and that they carried it because it was that important, sacred almost. And now he's taken it out from underneath the box out from under mom's bed, and he's cut the bridle up and turned it into a whip.
Mm.
He was making a whip, a very nice whip for the look at it. So you remember what's going to come next? When Jesus went into the city after he arrived on the donkey, what did he do in the temple?
Turn the tables over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when he was standing up on the ramparts of the temple, they're looking down into the temple at the people who are partying and bringing the animals through and all like that. He looked pretty sad and pretty mad. So it's a preamble to what comes next.
So episode seemed like a preamble to what was next.
Yeah, it's going to keep doing that, building up. We started off with the Passover supper, which was 4 days later. So remember, we had this as a backflash. So we're going to keep doing that, where we're going to hit this a high point and then go back and see what caused this high point to happen or what brought us to it. So
the beginning sequence was not the Last Supper; it was a different.
It was the Last Supper.
It was the Last Supper.
After that, it said 4 days earlier. So this is 4 days before that is when he came into town on the donkey.
Okay.
So remember that when the Israelites proved faithless to God and had abandoned God and the temple and were doing all sorts of unsavory things, the Shekinah, the glory of God, left the temple and was visibly seen in some manner leaving the temple and going out of the sheep gate or out of the eastern gate and out over the land, which means God was gone. And for Jesus to come back the way he did is the returning of the glory of God. And of course, the prophecy that we've got here is what was already spoken of, that God would come, that the Messiah would come on the foal of an ass, full of a donkey into the city. So he was very clear in orchestrating this from Bethany when he told the disciples to go and get the foal from the man. He said, it'll be there waiting for you. Go get it. And if he asks you why you're taking it, tell him that you're doing it for the master and he'll let you have it. So very clearly claiming the prophecy for himself. Again, when you're ever in discussions with people that say Jesus never said he was God, or he never said he was the Lord, or these other things, then you can find just from what he's saying here on the temple steps when he said was praying to the Father and saying, "This is coming through me, and here's the glory of me, and I'm the light, and if you know the light, you're going to know me. It's just all about me." So there's a real premeditated process that we're going through here. None of it's left to chance. Yeah. What else?
There was so much.
He said,
Yeah, there really were a lot of nuggets in this.
I should have wrote down notes like you did.
70, what you said.
I don't remember.
Who is the
How
guy
about-
taking notes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
What?
I've read a little bit about that. There's a lot of question about who that guy is. And at one point, a while back, I mean, he's been around since season 4. Remember, we saw him in season 4.
Mhm.
And right after that, there was a lot of chatter going back and forth. People, saying it's this person, that person, whether it's Mark from the Gospels or somebody else, and they were going back and forth and back and forth. But the should I give it away, or do you just want to wait and find out?
Wait and find out.
Away.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Don't look it up. Don't look it up then. There's a lot of it could be him, could be him, could be him, could be him, but there is one clear path that's coming to light. So just don't look it up. Leave it to be a surprise.
I just think it looks like he's going to be a good guy. But
Yeah.
this whole series, you think that, and then whoop, twist
Yeah.
around 180. So
That's
you
true.
never know. Because it did
Yeah.
challenge the what do you call them? Sadducees, those guys, those mean Jewish guys. He challenged them, so that tells me that he was not on their side.
Yeah, those are the Pharisees.
Pharisees. I give him a
But
C.
the Pharisees and the Sadducees wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
Very rarely do they ever agree on anything, but they're agreeing on this.
Sure.
They want Jesus out of the way because he's causing a problem. Remember, the problem that he's causing is simply challenging their authority. They have their position of authority, and they don't care what they have to do to keep it, which is a lot like a lot of people who are in authority. They'll break, borrow, and steal, do whatever they have to do in order to continue to be the one and that has the authority. So,
Seems
right.
like
Yeah,
seems like
right
it hasn't
and
changed in
truth.
2,000 years.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. What about that bleeding wall? When Jesus was coming on a donkey and he stopped the donkey and the stones were bleeding. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, and he saw it towards the end too.
They
Yes.
don't really talk about him getting anxious like that
No.
in
No.
the Bible, right?
No. It is an artistic interpretation of what he would have been going through, and if you extrapolate it backwards, so we know that the night before the arrest, or the night of the arrest, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane. It says that he's praying so fervently that he's sweating blood, which is actually a thing. If you didn't know that can actually happen. And so there's a medical term for it. I'm sorry, I don't have it. I can get it for you next time. And he was sweating blood, and it was this, obviously a very emotional, stressful, distressful process that he was going through. That's where he said, Lord Father, if you can take this cup from me, do it. But if not, then not my will, but thy be done. So they're taking events like this, and also that he was just a man, right? Regular man, regular human being. So he laughed and joked, as we've seen, and he cried. We saw that he would be, while he's in the midst of this as the second person of the Trinity, he'd also be overwhelmed by it. I mean, there is a humanity to him that would feel all of the need and the stress and the pressure of the process. And he knows, but the other thing is that he knows the bigger picture. So he knows what's happening. The bleeding on the wall and the anger at the people in the temple, the bleeding of the stones, and then that thing that he said, where he said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, and started talking about the destruction, and then you saw the fire and the Romans and
Soldiers, yeah.
Yeah, all that happening. That's the fall of the temple, the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, which is written about in the gospel. And there was a lot of debate about that, saying, oh, it's because they wrote the gospel in 72 AD. But that's for those who don't want the miracle prophecies to be actual true miracles. So the majority of scholarship has placed that the gospel around 65, 62 in its final form. So well before the loss of the temple. So what Jesus is seeing is it's the corruption of everything along the way. What's going to pay the price is the faith of the people. That's what's bleeding. The temple of the people is what's bleeding. The focus of that which is given to focus the people's faith to God is being torn apart. Being torn apart by the corruption of the people that we saw in the temple grounds, by the corruption of the hierarchy, which we see in the high priest and his little banter there with Pilate, and the Sadducees and Pharisees and their desire to kill him, to get him. And then, of course, those who are following after that want to stop him from doing that. That's the mother. I mean, that's the father of what was her name? Rhea? No, that's not right. Shoot, just escaped my name. Remember, her name just escaped my head. Remember, she was one of the followers that she was killed in the street.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Rama,
Rama.
thank you. Rama,
Yeah.
that's Rama's dad. Remember, they took her body back to her dad, and her dad was not. So he said, "Whatever I do, I'm going to get you." That's it. So that he's following, he made his work to follow around Jesus and turn people against him. So that's with
Who was
that's with
that?
a bigger, huh?
Who was that?
Remember Rama?
Yeah, I
Rama.
remember Rhea. I don't remember who was which one was her father.
He was the guy who was talking. Remember when the stranger that we're talking about met them in the streets because they were coming in and saying that God hates God hates false prophets, and they're doing that chant. All those men walking along doing that chant thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That he's the chief guy in the middle of all that. And at the end, you saw them sitting around the fire talking.
Okay.
And the guy on the left was one of the family members, and the guy on the right was the father.
Oh, was he the one with the beard?
Yeah. I think so.
Huge.
Yeah, I think
Beard.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is leading to a bigger thing. This is, we have, and this is lost to us a lot of times because we are so immersed in the crucifixion and the resurrection and what that means, not only as the sacrifice of God, but because our relationship with Jesus is personal. So when we go through this process of the crucifixion, it's a personal wound as well as a spiritual wound, because Christ is personal to us. So that is happening, of course, but there's another thing happening, and it's that why God is coming, and it's the result of God coming. In a way, it's the unrest that is there and the unrest that it's building, and the coming of the Messiah is just going to add to it, which is going to culminate in the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So this is what what they're suggesting that Jesus is seeing and knowing. Of course, he knows that this is where the faith is leading them.
He's saying
Where all
going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. If, they keep going the way, remember all the prophets who God would send to the people and say, if you don't stop what you're doing, this is what's going to happen. If you don't stop what you're doing, this is what's going to happen. And they keep doing it, and then it happens. So this is one of those times where Jesus has gone to him. He's not saying if you don't stop this is what's going to happen. He's saying you need to stop this and come to me, period. You don't need to worry about what's going to happen. You just need to give yourself over to the light and the truth and live in that place. And of course, the result of that would be that other thing wouldn't happen. But he knows it's going to happen. So there's no turning back. The people are already on that path. And as Alan said, not much has changed in 2,000 years. Right? It stays the same.
Yeah.
It was interesting how they used Joanna to provide. You always wonder where they stayed, where they lived.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yep.
very possible.
Yep. Yeah, and she was rich, and she had a lot of power. It makes perfect sense that she would use that to benefit the ministry. I mean, she was on record as a benefactor So yeah, why not? And what she's saying is exactly true. In the records, and Josephus is a Jewish historian, the first historian for Jewish historian, and he wrote about the Passovers in Israel, in Jerusalem, where the people who lived there would leave, kind of like people do here when
Yeah.
when these small towns are like that, when they have these big celebrations and like that. When we were on Chickatig a few years back for the running of the ponies,
Nice.
and everybody turns out to see it, and also the the island balloons up with a couple thousand more people to go and see it all. Well, we weren't there for that, but we were talking about it with one of the locals. In fact, the man who runs the ice cream shop. If you've been down there, you know what I'm talking about. And he said, "Oh yeah, well, not everybody's here. A lot of people leave. A lot of the people living in here they just get off the island. They don't want to be in the middle of all this crowd and mess, and they wait for it to go down, and then they come back home. That's their vacation time." So that was regularly happening in Jerusalem. So yes, it's very plausible, as Jay said, that she would be a benefactor in more than just financial ways, but providing them that logistical process as well. Sure. Let's see. Oh, what about Pilate? Pilate and the oysters and the shrimp.
Yeah.
No. So I don't know that story. There's something about shellfish that's not
Well,
clean or
Jewish
something.
people aren't supposed to eat shellfish.
Oh,
Right.
no.
Back then,
Oh.
anyway.
Right. Yeah, the dietary laws say that you
Okay.
can't.
There've been
You
so
should
many
not do that.
different there've been so many different depictions of Pilate, and this one I do not enjoy.
Yeah.
It's like
Amazing.
a kid playing at
He's
politics.
just,
Yeah.
He's like
just
the
awful.
I notice he's like the Romans. He has an American accent in the show. So distinctly American. Where the rest of them have an accent, the Romans and Pilate do not. They have American accents.
You know, the depiction of Pilate is very much kind of a almost angry, really troubled man, and a response, kind of a responding to the troubles, responding to the problems. Where this Pilate's a different guy altogether. He's like you say, he's kind of a slimy. You can feel
He's
it.
almost
Yeah.
more like Herod, more like I think of Herod being, just silly and
Yes, yes,
Uh,
just not
that's what I
doesn't,
thought too. Yep.
you know, and I just don't feel like that fits.
I remember I think the depiction of Pilate in the
Passion.
crucifixion of the Passion, that was a good one. You know, he was trying to
Right.
be.
I mean, he was much more of a human
Yeah.
being, and more of a, his hands were tied. At least, I mean, he
Right.
let them be, but his
Yeah, they didn't
It
have to
was-
be.
Very
he
troubled
wasn't-
by everything too.
yeah. And this guy doesn't seem to care whatsoever
No,
about much of anything but himself.
no, and that's going to come back to bite him too in the next couple episodes, from what I understand.
But wasn't it Pontius Pilate in one of the previous seasons where he's sitting there having breakfast while people are being crucified outside?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he has no regard for that. It's just
yeah.
Yeah.
it's work for him. It's just
Right.
something he does.
But now you do see his concern, because that was Caiaphas, the high priest, and he's telling Caiaphas, it's your job to keep everybody in order. I don't want a riot, because the riot is the problem. It gets back to Rome that you're having a riot. That's bad business. So that's what got him in trouble, and actually what got him exiled was the problems that followed the crucifixion of Christ in Judea and in Israel. And Caesar was displeased with him and sent him off. I believe it was to Gaul, where he died there. Very, very huge demotion for him. No fancy life in the Senate for Pilate. It was all over after that. Kashrut is the dietary laws that say no shellfish. So when what's his name, the secret police guy walked through and he did that, and of
Yeah.
course Pilate did it too, to the high priest. So what's the thing with the box? What's all that about?
The
So
box. Good.
they had a tradition. They had it wasn't a tradition. It was when Rome came, they confiscated the high priest's ceremonial robes.
Oh,
and they locked them up because that kept the high priest from doing certain services in worship services and calling services in the temple. Basically, the high priest cannot exercise his authority without that robe.
Hmm.
So once a year, or actually 3 times a year, there is a celebration or a service that Pilate will give that robe back to the high priest for one day or one night in order to do this service, and then takes it back again.
It has
So
stones in it, right?
yeah, that's the square box. Those are the stones for the high priest. Yep.
You
All the
showed us
tribes.
pictures of those before, I think, lots of different ones from.
Yes, represents
Yeah.
the 12 tribes. It's 12 stones. So yeah, this is the really, like, it's just the robe, it's the garment of his office. So it can't be hurt. And like you said, don't touch it. When the pilot went over, like, I'm gonna touch it. Because then if he touched it, they couldn't use it for Passover.
Hmm.
And if they couldn't use it for Passover, then the high priest couldn't hold the service.
Yeah.
So it keeps the priest beholden to Pilate.
Yes. Yeah. It's a sacred garment. So it can't be replaced.
Yeah.
And that's why Rome, pretty smart. Rome figured that out and then confiscated it. Simple robe. And they got the keys to the kingdom.
They have the power at that point.
Yep. He can't do anything about it.
Pilate and the Pharisees had a close working relationship, and they were both discussing the profit motive
Yes.
with the celebration Passover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's strange bedfellows. I mean, if you think about it, this is like my enemy's enemy is my friend type thing. So you've got the Pharisees and Sadducees are working together where they usually do not do that. You may remember in prior season where you had where it was Joseph, when Joseph went into the Sanhedrin, when he was brought to Jerusalem, and you had those people over there that were having that naughty talk, and he was over here having this talk, and they got together a little bit, and it was really gritty. Those were Sadducees necessarily, and Pharisees. Sadducees are high class, upper class people. They're like the rich people, and they have a take on the faith that's different from the Pharisees. Sadducees do not have resurrection for the dead. They don't believe in anything past the
Torah.
Torah. Yeah, the first books of the Bible. So the prophets were there doing God's purpose, but none of what they said was a binding in a way. So the Pharisees, however, look at the prophets and say this is God in the same way that it was God speaking through Moses. So a big difference between the two. And no, near the twain shall meet. So for having them get together to get Jesus killed and then teaming up with Pilate, that's the trifecta. They're overcoming huge religious and social and cultural boundaries to get this done. It was a real concerted effort. Let's see. Jeremiah. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. Okay. Yep. So we're really pointing. Any other specific place that you think of? We're really pointing toward these are the building stones of this larger concern that's coming, and really the place where you can hang on to it as you look for these clues in the next episode that lend more weight to the bleeding stones and the vision of the temple being destroyed in 70 AD. There's a lot to that, and that's, as I said in the review we did for all the years, there's a central core message that they're putting together, that when you're done, you have these core messages. This is going to be the core message for season 5. Okay. All right. I'm happy. Hope you're happy. Been waiting for this a long time, and have it come to fruition tonight it's just great. So I've been waiting. We're looking forward to this all day long, and have a great day. But this is something to look forward to for the day. So
Yeah.
wonderful to be with you again. Feels like old times.
It does.
Yes.
Good stuff. Yeah. Keep, if you want to get ready for next week, you can just begin. I believe it's at let's see. 14. You can go to John, Gospel of John, chapter 14, and just read. Read 14 through. It's not that long because remember it's just in the center of it. So 14 through 17. And then we'll read more later on. That's exactly what season 5 is coming from, is this section of John's Gospel, the entry into Jerusalem and the Passover, and then what follows, coming up with. The very slow dawning on them in the minds of the apostles or the disciples at this time, what's going on. And you see how continually Mary's ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that, but I like this phrase. She doesn't have a dog in the fight. And I think that has something to do with it. You know, all the guys are in this, of course, culturally, they're in this as the guys. They're following Jesus and they have expectations for them to do. Jesus already sent them out 2 by 2. And they have all this, you know, when the leader becomes, they're going to be like the lieutenants for the leader. And Mary doesn't have any of that. Those are not concerns for her. So she doesn't have that lens that she's looking through at Jesus saying, okay, he's doing this. How am I going to work into this future with him as his lieutenant? None of that is present for her. She is just with him, and that's it. So her spiritual awareness is greater than most of them. There's a couple of the disciples that are also intuitive that way. Matthew being one of them. So yeah, read John. See, just get the particulars. Of course, this is not going to show us the particulars in the Chosen. It's too broad, but the particulars that you do see are right there in John's Gospel.
Okay.
It's a refresher. All right, guys. God bless you all.
Okay.
Great to be with you. Maybe see
Thank
some of you
you.
tomorrow night, Bible study. If not, then have a wonderful